happen. Joining us on the phone lines this morning from Knoxville, he is VolQuest's Brent Hubbs. And honestly, Brent, at this point, I really look forward to this conversation, A, because you've got great insight, B, because I just get to listen to a little bit of country music. It's a win-win on Friday mornings. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. What a week. We got Sunday school teacher Mike Brown eviscerating the NCAA. We got 3 volunteer guys on a chain crew getting criticized for eating a hot dog. We got Brian Kelly saying he was misquoted only to have the audio revealed that he wasn't misquoted. And last night we had a guy jump off sides and line up wrong for 58 minutes of a football game without a penalty. Football is back.
That's right.
Hey,
Football
hit
is
the
back.
horns, Bird. Hit the horns, Bird. Oh.
Look at Brent just cutting a
go.
promo for us this morning. I mean, honestly, Brent, you're 100% right. And, I mean, it is crazy. We were talking about it last night about the offsides and you know, Juwan Taylor jumping off false starts for 58 minutes. And you know it's bad, Brent, when Ramon Foster takes the defensive line side, doesn't even defend the right tackle.
I had nothing.
Yeah, when he doesn't go with his boys, you know his boys doing bad.
Crazy.
What's going on there, man?
Hey, bro, I couldn't do it, man. And I was ready to go at J.J. Watt on social media. I was like, he kind of right. So I left it alone, man. It takes a strong person to admit when you're wrong.
Oh, goodness. I love it. Brent Hubbs with us this morning. Brent, before we get to the notes going into Tennessee and Austin Peay this weekend, you bring up a good point with Mac Brown and the NCAA. And, you know, we were talking about the take Andy Staples had of On3 yesterday, saying maybe the way this changes is when rivals of North Carolina and schools like that start to take up for players who don't play for their teams in scenarios like this with the second transfer. What did you make of this decision yesterday and the ensuing reaction from it?
Well, you know, it's the inconsistencies of the NCAA that drive you crazy because, and not to I mean, I don't know every detail of the story. I know the new NCAA rule where they're trying to prevent multiple, you know, transfers and that grad transfer deal. But JT Daniels is eligible at his 6th school.
Yep.
I mean, that's the poster child for transferring. So if he's eligible this year, how do you justify, you know, throwing out a rule that says you can't transfer a second time? We're trying to prevent that. Now, I will say this, and Andy Staples made this point. I think it's a valid point. The coaches all scream that this needs to be cleaned up and tightened down because it was out of control. So they tightened it up, and here we are. It's just inconsistent in how they've done that. And it's just, you know, a microcosm of the issues and the mess that the NCAA has going for them right now with the various inconsistencies of different rulings and things like that. I hate it for the kid. I don't know all the mental health stuff and all those types of things they were talking about. But, you know, when you see guys transferring multiple times to get to play, and he doesn't fall into that category, it's a bit of a head scratcher for sure. Yeah,
it's crazy. JT Daniels can probably take a couple classes and technically get a degree and be a grad transfer from schools like Georgia and West Virginia, but it just played his 3rd game at Texas, which is more than Texas's starting quarterback has played, which is just unbelievable. Brent, for Tennessee, there's one transfer who will be unavailable this weekend and for a significant amount of time, and Keenan Peely announced with an injury that comes down and on a play that he didn't even know when it happened against Virginia. How much does this staff believe in Caleb Herring and Arion Carter filling in for him starting this weekend?
Well, they believe in those guys, but that, you know, nobody's sitting here saying there's no drop-off. But because Keenan Peely's an experienced guy whose athletic ability had clearly shown up as he was year 2 removed from the ACL. He had impressed Tennessee's coaching staff the entire fall camp with his physical ability, the ability to run sideline to sideline. He had played really well for Tennessee. So it's a tough loss. Now, Elijah Herring's got some experience, and he played well in the opener. And I think he'll play well in this game. He and Arion Carter have to use this game the right way. They have got to really be dialed in, focused, really build and learn and grow in this game to get ready for conference play and what's coming next, because there is no easing them into it with a rotation. They are you know, Elijah Herring's the man right now in the middle, and he's got to go. So this is a big week, and next week on the practice field is a big week for him.
And good thing for me is this will give me an opportunity to stop getting Elijah and Caleb confused. Having watched them both in high school football, you'd think I'd have it down by now, but I guess not yet.
Not at all, man. Brent, last week, I didn't see you here in Nashville, man, because there was a lot of everything going on. What was most intriguing to me? That defense. How did you take their first stance against an ACC opponent? It wasn't like it was just School of the Blind. What did you take from those guys, man? James Pierce Jr., goodness gracious.
Well, speed, and our friend David Cutcliffe always said speed never had a bad day. And you can overcome a lot of mistakes when you have speed. And I think Tennessee's speed on the defensive front showed up big time. As you mentioned, that's against another Power 5 school. And it wasn't just James Pierce, although he showed out with it. It was Omar Norman Lott. It was the twitch of Amari Thomas. It was, Aaron Beasley, Kamal Haddon. I mean, that was a fast-looking defense that played with a ton of confidence last week, which was the biggest takeaway for me. I thought that A, they're more athletic. They are faster, but B, I think you play faster when you're just cutting it loose and going. And I think this defensive side of the ball fully understands this defensive scheme of Tim Banks. I don't think Banks is overcomplicating things. I think he's letting his players go play. And as a result of that, they look like a really fast defense on Saturday, which is a great sign for Tennessee moving forward.
And I just, if I'm going to bash an offensive lineman, I also got to put one on the pedestal. Brent, you know me, man. You absolutely know me. And you know where I'm headed, okay? I'm headed to the tight red zone in Nissan Stadium at the left tackle position where somebody got carried into a camera. It kind of reminds me of myself. I spiked the ball into a camera and cut it out. This individual threw a man into a camera, man. John Campbell Jr. Can we please elaborate on him just for a little bit and what he's bringing to this OL?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I was beyond impressed. And I thought he had a solid fall camp. But in the spring, he was a guy who clearly was trying to figure out the tempo of the offense. And you weren't sure. He wasn't in great shape. He had been battling a little injury. So here's the big high-profile transfer. And you're kind of like, okay. And then, nobody pushed him in fall camp. It was his spot from day one. He was the left tackle. And then you go and watch him play, and his athleticism shows up. That play went viral, which is great. But it was his athleticism, his ability to pull, the different things that they could do with him and with that offensive line, but particularly with him in the run game is pretty fun to watch. Tennessee's fortunate that they got him here. He knows Joe Milton. Joe Milton pushed to get him to visit. He almost didn't visit. Weather caused flight delays for his visit, so he was just going to cancel it. Joe and Tennessee and coaches, worked him to get him to come and take the visit. Come take the visit. He never dreamed he would like Tennessee, because his perception of Tennessee was cows and no buildings and outhouses and all the other things that all the other people around the country seem to have about East Tennessee. But he got up here and he really liked the players and he really fit in. And that's a tight-knit room, Ramon. You've been in those rooms. You guys are a little different now. You march to the beat of a different drum, and you're kind of in your own world, and you're not afraid to tell a coach, hey, he don't fit. We don't want him here. This guy on his visit, everybody in the room said, he's been great with us. He would be a great addition. He's actually become a pretty vocal leader for him on offense, and is a fun soundbite and a good kid, and by all accounts, and pretty impressive football player with what he did on Saturday. I thought he played well, not just on the one play. I thought he played well through the whole game.
So Tennessee's good when there's a John on the team, a Big John, whether it's Big John Henderson or Big John Campbell is what you're telling me.
Well, you know what? When you're built like that and can move like that with both of those guys, they can be John, Jerome, Joanna, whatever they want to be at that point in time. It doesn't matter, Ramon. When God gives you that, you're going to be good regardless of your name.
No doubt.
Brent Hubbs joining us now. And Brent, speaking of the offensive line, saw some rotation there in game one. Cooper May's still out. How overall do you feel like the coaching staff felt about the line to start off the season?
Well, I think they felt like they were solid in their communication. They didn't have a lot of busts. They didn't have a lot of mistakes there. They obviously made some mistakes. It wasn't perfect, but snaps were good. We saw Virginia struggle with the snaps. It really messed them up in the run game, trying to get anything going. But Ollie Lane and Dane Davis did a solid job with snaps. Andre Kirk was probably a little better than I thought he would have been or was. He played pretty decent. Things to build on. This week will be a little bit different. Virginia was pretty base up front. They wanted to stem and move around pre-snap. It's hard to do when Tennessee goes fast. That eliminates a lot of that defensive stemming where you try to move right into snap count because you're just fighting to get lined up. This is an Austin Peay team that will come from a variety of places. They'll play a bunch of different coverages. Joey Halsey said Wednesday night they played 9 different coverages in Southern Illinois' first offensive drive. They'll go cover 0. They'll drop 8. They'll come from the boundary. They'll blitz from different directions. So communication is going to be paramount this week for that offensive line. You got to identify the front. Got to identify who's coming. So I think this is another solid test for this group because not a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. Are you going to turn somebody loose? Are you going to slide your protection and do all the things you need to do to protect Joe Milton?
Three-headed monster of Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, and Dylan Sampson. How pleased were you just to see the utilization of them this past weekend? And how big could this be for Tennessee this year to have a group like that?
Well, you can't win without more than one running back. That's just a given. You got to have multiple guys. I think Jalen Wright is the clear-cut number one. And I think if healthy in a big ball game in critical situations when you got to have your run game going, I think you will see the carries get more out of balance and Jalen Wright will get more carries. But I thought Jabari Small ran hard. He had a little bit of trouble with his footing. He kind of tackled himself a couple times. Dylan Sampson, I thought, hit it up in between the tackles harder and better, played with better pad leverage Saturday than he played with last year as a freshman, which is to be expected. You're going to see all those guys play. And I think Jerry Mack's not afraid to rotate whenever he needs to rotate, and that's an unselfish group. I mean, heck, Jabari Small tapped out and gave up a touchdown. He would have scored a touchdown, but he tapped and said, hey, I need a break. And Dylan Sampson said, hey, I'll take my third one of the day. I'm pretty happy with that. Here, put me in there. But, you know, they're an unselfish, tight-knit group. Jalen Wright's had a great offseason. I mean, a great offseason. He's much better than he's been. The one thing that I was impressed with, and I think we all wondered, what's the adjustment to the offense without Hendon Hooker? You saw a lot more running back involvement in the passing game on Saturday as a bit of a way. Now, you know, if they're blitzing linebackers, those guys might have to stay in and block and can't slip out and be as available. But with the way Virginia was playing, they could slip out of the backfield, and I thought Joe Milton did a terrific job of hitting those guys in stride. You don't want to spin your running back around to catch a ball. He did not do that and allowed them to go make a play, which was kind of an extension of the run game. So there's a lot to be happy with that running back group. They've got to stay healthy, but you certainly feel like Tennessee's in pretty decent shape with tailback right now.
Brent Hubbs, VolQuest.com with us. Brent, with Squirrel White and Cooper Mays, what's their status moving forward, and can we expect to see one or both of those guys in Gainesville next weekend?
Well, we'll see on Cooper. Cooper's done more stuff the last 3 days than he's done since he had the procedure. He'll do some rehab stuff this weekend. We'll see where he's at Monday and Tuesday of next week. You know, that's going to be just how does he feel, what kind of pains he's dealing with. Are the doctors and the surgeon going to clear him for contact and all those types of things? And that's a decision that, quite frankly, is a bit out of Cooper's hands. Squirrel's fine. Squirrel's going to be fine. I mean, the only issue with Squirrel's not real big. And so the concern there is that he may get banged up from time to time. They may be cautious with him this week, but he should be 100% ready to go when they go to Gainesville.
Brent, I have another submitted question from our favorite listener, Grant R. in Blount County, who may or may not work with you, who asks, what was it like covering Conridge Holloway in the 70s?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh. Hey, send me his address.
Grant is out of line.
I'm going to pull up on
Grant
him, okay?
R. might need a 1-week suspension for being out of line on this one.
Grant R. Loves to refer to me as the old head because I've been around since the beginning of time. I did not cover Conridge Holloway, I will say that. But I have gotten to know Conridge through the years, and just a delight to deal with, and a great storyteller. Such a tremendous impact in the world of college football, the SEC, the University of Tennessee, a true trailblazer. Loves his alma mater, loves Tennessee, and can still throw a football. And has tried to show me. This is probably when Ramon was on the practice field and practices were fully open. Here's a shock to you: the media, who always claims about we're mad that practice gets closed early now. We got really bored in mid-October after we watched our 75th straight football practice, and it's all the same thing to us that we don't understand. Condridge, during some stretch periods and different things, would grab a football and start throwing it. And if you threw one back and you threw it like I threw it, he just shook his head, and he would come over like your dad would. He'd put your hands on the laces. He'd try to work on your release. He'd try to help you out because he was so embarrassed by the way that you threw the football. Unfortunately, he never got me fixed. But I've had some great road trips with Condridge, spent some great time with Condridge, and I'm certainly happy to see that Tennessee is honoring him and recognizing him in this anniversary. Now, when they go to Atlanta in 2 years to take on Syracuse, I vote for Tennessee to wear the original Condridge Holloway uniforms on the road with the white jersey and the orange smock. So I'm already advocating that they should get those things ordered. Let's go back and wear one of his true originals when Tennessee goes to Atlanta next as an appreciation for Condridge Holloway, because that'd be year 53 since he was a starter at Georgia Tech and introduced himself to the college football world.
That's awesome. I have a quick one for you real quick, too. Word was that Joe pretty much called out his wide receivers a little bit, too. How did that go, and what do we need to expect from them moving forward if he's taking that on and challenging them, too?
Well, I mean, I think it's a great thing. I mean, listen, you got to have leadership, and leaders can't be afraid to stand up and speak. It can't always be rah-rah, hey, we're great. I think he did it. I think he has spoke and challenged those guys in the right way. I don't think there's anything malicious about it. But they've got to get on the same page. And I think they had some issues where their route adjustments weren't exactly what they needed to be. And Joe said, there's some places some guys took off, and that can't happen. You got to have those guys. And I think part of his message was, look, if you're tired, tap out. Yeah. We'll play somebody else. But we've got to go at our speed to be fully effective. I can't have you guys at half speed or taking a play off, because that's going to lead to a turnover. That's going to lead to a problem. So his challenge to them was, hey, you got to go. And if you can't go, you need to let somebody know you can't go. We'll put somebody else in there that can. We got enough depth on this team. So I think it's a positive sign for Joe as a leader that's what they're doing, or he's doing.
Brent Hubbs, VolQuest.com, our guest this morning at Brent_Hubbs, where you can find him on Twitter. Great stuff as always, Brent. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. Enjoy football.
Thanks, Brent.
Absolutely.
Brent, good.
There's Brent Hubbs with us, who did not cover Condridge Holloway, but does know how to throw a football with him in practice.
I think
Grant is out of line.
He is out of line.
Look at Grant going at him.
We don't have to pull up on Grant.
Right?
Yeah, we don't have to pull up, Will.
Grant texts me and says, on our VolQuest podcast, I asked him if he drove to Alabama for Condridge's commitment ceremony, or if he just got him on the phone. This man.
He gonna put him up on a scarecrow stand in his garden is what's gonna happen next.
We've got Grant kneecapping like half of our guests.
Oh my God.
I feel like Grant just needs to start booking our guests for us.
Dude is a menace.